Have you ever wondered why you can understand almost every single word a native English speaker says, but somehow the actual meaning, like the true vibe of the conversation, still just slips right through your fingers?
Oh man, it is such an incredibly frustrating plateau. You know the vocabulary, you know the grammar, but the music of the language just isn't quite clicking yet.
Yeah, exactly. And that right there is the ultimate turning point in language learning.
It really is. I mean, it's what separates a textbook reader from a natural speaker.
Welcome to Everyday English Flow, daily English practice, natural speaking, and effortless listening flow. Because today, our mission is to pull you completely out of the textbook and drop you right into the heart of natural advanced fluency.
Right. We are going to bridge that gap between, rigid translation and effortless conversation.
And to do that, we actually have a very specific roadmap today. Before we jump in, let me give you the numbers. Today, we are going to master exactly 19 crucial advanced English phrases, and we've broken them down into 5 everyday conversational situations.
Plus, we are saving a highly popular native idiom and a special bonus for the very end of the session, so you will definitely want to stick around for that.
Oh, yeah, that bonus one is so good. So, it is widely believed by linguists that true fluency doesn't just come from memorizing the biggest words in the dictionary, right?
Exactly. It comes from mastering these subtle conversational fillers, the little phrases that lubricate everyday interactions and prevent friction.
And that's why this deep dive will focus entirely on natural speaking and effortless listening. We're going to unpack difficult words and tricky phrasal verbs, complete with really clear example sentences.
So you can actually start using them immediately.
Right. So let's jump right into the deep end with our first conversational situation. This is the art of advanced agreement and yielding.
Ah, yes.
On the surface, agreeing seems like the easiest part of any language, doesn't it?
Yeah. I mean, you just nod and say, I agree. Right. But native speakers rarely just stand there and say those two words. They almost never do. Saying, I agree, in a casual setting can actually sound a bit robotic. It's almost like a computer confirming a command prompt.
Yeah, that's so true. It feels very stiff.
Exactly. Instead, a native speaker will reach for phrases that add flavor and nuance. A perfect starting point. Our first phrase is saying, that's a good point. Or to add a bit more authenticity, that's a good point, actually.
The word actually does a lot of heavy lifting there, doesn't it? Like, I notice native speakers love to use the phrasal verb throw on when it comes to conversational markers like this.
Yes, they do. They just casually toss the word into the sentence to show a bit of pleasant surprise. To throw on simply means to, well, casually add or put something on.
Right, like, an example sentence would be, he decided to throw on a jacket before leaving.
Perfect example. And in conversation, when we throw on the word actually at the end of an agreement, it signals that our mind was just changed.
Oh, interesting. So it's not just agreeing, it's showing the process of agreeing.
Exactly. Imagine you're debating with your roommate about buying a new washer or dryer. You want the cheap one, but they suggest spending a little more so it doesn't break down in a year.
And then you reply, that's a good point, actually.
Right. It means you hadn't considered their perspective, and you are pleasantly surprised by their logic.
It's like a subtle compliment to their intelligence. Building on that, phrase number 2 is another incredibly versatile one. Fair enough.
Oh, you hear this constantly. It's fascinating because you can use it to agree completely, but more often you use it to softly disagree without actually starting an argument.
Yeah, I use this all the time. Say your friend wants to stay in because they're exhausted. You really wanted to go out. But instead of arguing about how early they went to bed last night,
Which never goes well.
right, you just say, fair enough.
It acts as a conversational yield sign.
Hmm.
You are stepping back politely, recognizing their boundary. It's a crucial tool for advanced English flow.
Which brings us to phrase number 3, which kind of operates on a similar wavelength. Not a bad idea.
This one is essentially a secret code. You are using a double negative not and bad to create a secret positive.
But wait, why do we do that? Like, why go through the linguistic gymnastics of saying not a bad idea instead of just saying that's a good idea? Isn't that needlessly confusing?
I know it seems contradictory, but it reveals an important C1 level cultural nuance. When you say that's a good idea, it's raw, unfiltered enthusiasm.
Okay, right.
But saying not a bad idea shows thoughtful validation. It communicates that you have briefly analyzed the idea, weighed the pros and cons, and concluded that it holds up to scrutiny.
Ah, I see. It is a very measured, mature way to agree, often used to validate good planning, right?
Exactly. If someone says they are bringing an extra jacket because the weather is turning cold, you reply, that's not a bad idea. You are acknowledging their foresight.
That distinction between raw enthusiasm and measured validation is exactly the kind of nuance that separates textbook English from natural flow. Now, what about when we're trying to make a shared decision?
This is where phrases 4, 5, and 6 really shine. It's up to you, that works for me, and it depends. Or it depends on.
These are basically the gears that keep everyday choices moving.
They really are. Let's say you're trying to decide between pizza or Chinese food. You pass the decision to your friend by saying, it's up to you.
And here, I want to highlight the phrasal verb order out, which means to request food delivery from a restaurant.
Right, like an example sentence would be, let's just order out tonight instead of cooking.
Yeah. And if your friend suggests pizza, you confirm the plan smoothly by saying, that works for me.
And if they ask a broader question, like whether you enjoy working from home, you might say, it depends, or it depends on the day.
Because real life rarely has a single clear-cut answer, you know? So we've mastered making plans and giving up ground politely. But what happens when you absolutely can't yield?
Ooh, the tough stuff.
Yeah. When someone's idea isn't just different, but you genuinely believe it's wrong. Native English speakers generally have a strong cultural aversion to blunt, direct conflict.
They really do. So they have developed an entire arsenal of soft pushbacks.
Which brings us to section 2. The soft pushback is an art form. You need to disagree without making the other person lose face.
A classic phrase for this phrase number 7 is, I'm not so sure about that. Imagine someone boldly claims a specific local restaurant is the absolute best in town.
But you know for a fact the food there is terrible. You don't just say, you are wrong.
No, definitely not. You introduce your differing opinion gently to avoid being confrontational.
Right, because nobody likes someone who is confrontational. If you are dealing with things in an aggressive, hostile way, people just shut down.
They stop listening entirely. Let's look at an example sentence for that word, actually. You can disagree with your manager's strategy without being confrontational.
It is all about preserving the relationship. So you soften the blow. You say, I'm not so sure about that. I actually prefer this other place.
Exactly. Another phrase in this category, number 8, is used when pushing back on exaggeration. I wouldn't go that far.
Oh man, I use this constantly. People love to exaggerate. A friend will watch a pretty average superhero movie and claim it was the greatest piece of cinema ever made.
Or they'll complain that their boss is the absolute worst human being on the planet.
Right. And you have to step in and say, well, I wouldn't go that far.
You are signaling that they are embellishing.
Yeah.
And embellishing is a fantastic C1 vocabulary word.
It really is. It means adding dramatic or untrue details to a story to make it sound more interesting or extreme.
Spot on. For instance, an example sentence would be, he was embellishing his resume to look more experienced than he actually was.
When you say, I wouldn't go that far, you're bringing reality back into the conversation without completely shutting the other person down.
It makes the disagreement feel collaborative rather than combative. You are refining the truth together.
And that naturally leads to phrase number 9, one of the most powerful phrases in English for showing objectivity. To be fair.
Oh, I love this one.
If someone is heavily criticizing the slow service at a packed restaurant, you might say, to be fair, they are completely understaffed tonight, and that waitress has a really hard job.
Using to be fair demonstrates that you are a balanced thinker. You are looking at external factors and weighing another perspective, not just placing blame.
It is highly valued in English-speaking cultures to play devil's advocate and show that you can view a situation from multiple angles.
It really shows maturity in the language.
Speaking of which, I think we could all use a little more to be fair in our daily lives. And, you know, to be fair to us, putting together these deep dives takes a massive amount of research and preparation.
It definitely does.
So if you are getting value out of this session, making sure to like, share, and subscribe is the absolute best way to let us know to keep making content that improves your English.
Yes, please do. It is the fuel that keeps this show running.
Absolutely. So moving into section 3, we've navigated the tricky waters of soft pushbacks. But even soft disagreements can cause a spike in stress.
That's true. Conversations naturally need a mechanism to lower that tension and bring logic back into the fold.
This is a massive part of natural fluency, the ability to reassure someone.
It is widely believed by experts that stress and anxiety prevent us from processing language effectively. The same applies to general human interaction, right? High stress ruins communication.
That is why phrases like our 10th one, no rush, are so vital. It is a powerful tool of empathy, especially when dealing with retail or restaurant workers.
It's about removing the weight of expectation. If someone is scrambling to find my order, I don't want them to feel like a burden.
Right, meaning I don't want to be a heavy load or a difficult responsibility for them to carry in that moment.
Exactly. Let's look at an example sentence for that word. Burden. I don't want to be a burden, but could you help me carry these boxes upstairs?
When we look a stress worker in the eye and say, take your time, no rush, we are actively trying to ensure they do not feel burdened by our presence.
We are giving them the gift of patience.
Another phrase that does this beautifully, and maybe my favorite one we are covering today, number 11, is, it's not the end of the world.
It sounds a bit dramatic, doesn't it? But it is incredibly common for reassuring someone when a small mistake happens.
To me, it's like treating a daily error like a tiny speed bump rather than a giant brick wall, you know?
That's a phenomenal analogy.
Right, like a speed bump slows you down a little bit, maybe it jostles the car, but you keep driving. You don't crash.
We are providing instant perspective. A delayed report at work, a spilled cup of coffee, a forgotten item at the grocery store. It is a speed bump. It's not the end of the world. The earth will keep spinning.
But sometimes the bumps in the road are bigger. Sometimes things require immense effort and sacrifice, which brings us to phrase 12. It's worth it, or it's worth it in the end.
We use this when justifying a high cost or long, painful process. Parents use this constantly when they are paying for expensive activities or driving their kids to early morning sports practices.
Or consider the immense effort of finishing a demanding university degree. When you are studying in the library at 2 in the morning, feeling completely exhausted, you remind yourself, it's worth it in the end.
You are affirming that the long-term result justifies the heavy short-term cost.
We also rely heavily on logic to lower tension, using phrases 13 and 14. It just makes sense, and it couldn't hurt.
When you say it just makes sense, you are emphasizing that a decision is purely logical and free of emotion.
Like leaving for the airport an hour early to beat the holiday traffic, it just makes sense. But it couldn't hurt is a little different. It's about taking a low-risk action.
Yeah, what's a good example of that?
I always think of the classic mom advice, it couldn't hurt to ask for a discount.
Right. What is fascinating about it couldn't hurt is the underlying psychology. You are pointing out to the other person that there is zero downside to the action.
Exactly. If you ask for a discount and they say no, you are in the exact same position you were in 5 seconds ago.
They won't penalize you. It is a highly logical, low-risk move to encourage someone who might be feeling hesitant.
All right, we've spent a lot of time in the casual, reassuring world, but what does this all mean when we enter environments where the stakes and expectations are raised?
Time for Section 4. We are shifting gears now into navigating workplace motivation and accountability.
The professional world requires a different set of linguistic tools. Let's start with a crucial English idiom, phrase number 15. Cut someone some slack.
This means to be less critical and more forgiving of mistakes, especially if someone is new to a job or clearly having a rough day in their personal life.
If a new employee makes an error on a spreadsheet, a good, empathetic manager might pull the team aside and say, let's cut them some slack. They're still learning the software.
It's giving them a little bit of breathing room to figure things out, but, eventually the training wheels have to come off.
Yeah, you can't cut slack forever. That brings us to our next phrase, number 16. Take it up a notch.
This is all about increasing your intensity, your focus, or your effort.
I always picture a sports coach yelling this on the sidelines or a manager trying to rally a sales team at the end of the month. We did good this quarter, team, but let's take it up a notch.
It is a motivational push. It acknowledges past effort while demanding more.
But there is another phrase, number 17, that takes accountability to the absolute highest level. Get your act together.
This means to start behaving responsibly, to urgently organize yourself, and to stop making careless, unacceptable errors.
Wait, let me stop you there, though. Isn't get your act together incredibly harsh?
It definitely is.
Like if I walked up to my coworker and told them to get their act together, I feel like they would be deeply offended. It sounds almost insulting.
You are absolutely right to push back on that. Listeners need to be extremely careful with this phrase. It is highly critical and borders on reprimanding someone.
So how should we use it?
Well, in fact, because it is so blunt, it is most safely and commonly used on oneself. For instance, if you are having a scatterbrained day, missing deadlines and dropping your coffee. You might sigh and say out loud, I am so disorganized today, I really need to get my act together.
Ah, I see. Using it on yourself is a great way to show self-awareness. You're recognizing your own failure to perform without offending anyone else.
Exactly. It's a wake-up call to the man in the mirror.
Okay, we have journeyed all the way from polite agreement to intense workplace accountability. We have covered 17 powerful conversational phrases.
Which means it is finally time for the promise bonus section.
Yes. These last two phrases, numbers 18 and 19, are absolute gold for anyone aiming for true C1 level fluency.
They are heavily relied upon in daily native speech. Our first bonus phrase is, read the room.
Oh, this is a great one.
It means to pay close attention to the social vibe, the mood, and the unspoken emotions of a group before you start speaking.
And this is incredibly difficult for language learners. When you are translating vocabulary in your head and worrying about your grammar, you often don't have the cognitive bandwidth left over to process the nonverbal social cues.
But you have to try. If you walk into an office and everyone is completely silent, stressing out over a massive, difficult project.
You don't loudly crack a joke about going out for drinks.
No, you definitely don't. You have to read the room. You adjust your energy to match the social context.
Exactly. Failing to read the room leads to awkward, uncomfortable interactions.
And our final bonus phrase, rounding out our list at 19, is the idiom. Go down the rabbit hole.
I love this one. It actually originates from the famous story Alice's Adventures in Wonderland, right?
Yeah.
Where Alice literally follows the white rabbit down a deep hole and falls into a crazy, chaotic, and completely absorbing new world.
That's the one. In modern everyday English, it has evolved to mean getting completely absorbed in deep research or a highly distracting topic, usually online.
Oh man, yeah. You start out looking up one simple historical fact on Wikipedia, and 3 hours later, you're watching deep dive videos on how ancient Roman concrete was mixed.
You went down the rabbit hole.
It happens to the best of us. The modern internet is essentially designed as an endless series of interconnected rabbit holes.
It really is designed to trap our attention.
Okay, well, before we completely wrap up this session, let me remind you one more time, if you found this breakdown helpful, please like, share, and subscribe.
It tells us that we are hitting the mark.
And now, the ball is in your court. We have a challenge for you to test your active recall.
What does the idiom go down the rabbit hole mean in your own words? Write your explanation and create your own original example sentence in the comments section below.
We read them all, so definitely take a swing at it. And here is your final instruction for this session. It's a commitment check.
Ooh, a commitment check.
Yeah. If you made it all the way to the end of today's lesson, I want you to write the phrase, I stay committed, in the comment box right now. Prove to yourself and to us that you stuck with it until the very end.
I love that. And as we conclude, I want to leave you with a slightly different perspective to chew on.
What's that?
The phrases we unpacked today aren't just tools for speaking English. They are actually a window into the psychology of English-speaking cultures.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, it is a culture that highly values polite distance, actively hates direct conflict, and constantly tries to soften the blow of bad news.
That's profound. When you learn to say, to be fair, or not a bad idea, you aren't just memorizing vocabulary, you are actually trying on a completely different cultural personality.
Exactly. You finally catch the true vibe of the conversation because you understand the psychology beneath it.
It doesn't slip through your fingers anymore. You are the one shaping the interaction. Keep practicing, keep listening, and we'll catch you on the next deep dive.